Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tersh Blissett, sitting virtually next to my co-host, Joshua Crouch. And today we have Kevin Hill from CEO Warrior on the show. And we're going to talk a little bit about leadership and some good jazz about that. Fun fact, Josh and I actually met at CEO Warrior in person for the first time. We had known each other a couple of years.
I think the saying is that's where the magic started, right?
That's where that started.
If we want to consider it magic, maybe it's not magic. In Tersh's world, he probably thinks it's not magic. He's like, God, why did I ever get connected with this Yahoo?
That's where the cruelty started. Like,
that's where the torture, the everyday torture, and me blowing your phone up like I did yesterday.
Yeah, it's funny. So yesterday I left the house. I got a new phone, and I thought that it was finished updating. Well, it wasn't, and it stopped updating whenever I left the Wi-Fi, and so I was gone for like 4 or 5 hours, and I came back to a gazillion messages from Josh because I had no cell service the whole time I was gone, and I was like, man, it sure is quiet. It's nice. This is a nice day. And
there's a reason that I call my marketing company Relentless Digital. It is a personality trait. If I need an answer, I will follow up until I get an answer.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes it rubs people the wrong way. Most times, most people, ChatGPT has helped me like really reframe my messaging so I'm not an a-hole.
Yeah, but do you want your marketing company not to be relentless? Like that kind of makes
There's a lot that aren't. There really is. There's a lot that
you're
aren't.
absolutely right.
I don't hear from them for like 2 weeks at a time. So, and our whole team's that way. Like if you sometimes overly relentless with too many people jumping in, but that's what is the saying? You rather pull back steam versus kick a donkey in the ass.
Yep. Pull back on the reins of the thoroughbred rather than kick it down.
Which is good timing because the Kentucky Derby, as we're recording this, Kentucky Derby and the Preakness were just the last 2 weeks. So awesome. Kevin, you do a quick introduction on yourself for those that don't know who you are.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So again, my name is Kevin Hill. I'm Director of Training and Master Advisor at CEO Warrior. So I've been involved with CEO Warrior since 2016 as a member. I worked for a company out of Charleston, South Carolina that was an HVAC, electrical, and plumbing company. We also did some crawl space and some 2-day bath. We were a growing company. Well, let me start that over. We were a struggling company, and then we met the owner of our company met Mike Aguilera, who was the founder of CEO Warrior. And over the years, we grew the company. That company sold to a private equity firm. And when my time was over with the private equity firm, I moved into a master advisor role with CEO Warrior. Prior to that, I had owned a couple other different companies, a recruiting company, which is, I think, the reason why we can talk about recruiting today. For 17 years, I was in recruiting. And then prior to that, I owned a recycling company, various jobs in between. But my recycling company was food waste recycling. So did that for a number of years and sold that organization for profit as well.
How do you do that? What's the I just thought you just threw it in the trash. What's that involved?
No, so food waste recycling was mostly large restaurants, restaurant chains, grocery stores. We would ask them to separate their trash and their food waste, their cuttings from making, food that wasn't eaten at the table and or at the grocery stores, the meat trimmings, the food that wasn't made, prepared food that wasn't used was all dumped together. And then that mixed with some level of carbon, tree trimmings, what have you, at the landfills become compost soil.
Okay.
And then we sold the compost soil to the farms, who then gave the organic material back in fruits and vegetables to the restaurants. And it created this nice little green circle, if you will.
Oh, that's cool.
It was a cool little business. We had that for a number of years and then, sold that to private equity as well.
Fun fact.
Really cool. Yeah. There you go. You learn something every day.
Yeah. It's crazy. The different, I talked about Jared Williams, who has the Wealthy Plumber Group. He had a plumbing company, sold it, and he's in pressure washing, and he's growing that like crazy. And I met someone. I'm actually wearing my shirt today for the last Spartan race we did. His name is Ryan Lee. He built and sold a outdoor lighting company. That's all they did is outdoor lighting and like hanging lights for holidays and stuff like that, and really successful, profitable business. Now he teaches other people how to do that. It's just, it's wild. Like the things, we're so inundated with HVAC, plumbing, electrical. It's like there is a huge world of service companies out there. We just have to keep our eyes open and be like, hey,
it's kind of crazy. When I tell people that I used to have people pay me for dirt, they laugh. But it's a true statement. They literally paid me really good dirt that made their vegetables and gardens grow and grass look really good, but they paid me for dirt.
Cool deal. So let's talk about leadership and recruiting and all of that. But to start off with is leadership. How do you know if you're a good leader?
Well, so that's a great question. You know, I think
people stay.
Yeah, people don't leave you.
They don't burn the building down.
Leadership, I don't know. I think of leadership it's not just a title. A lot of people have the title of leader. Sure. And leadership takes action every day. You have to lead. You have to lead by example. And, you know, I don't know how many years ago there was someone introduced, I wouldn't even try to butcher who came up with it, but servant leadership was the mentality that came out, right? And a lot of people understand it, a lot of people don't. And for me, I think
it for a little bit more for people who haven't heard that, or maybe they've heard it, but they don't really fully understand what it means.
And I'll give you my definition of what servant leadership is, right? So I think of servant leadership as everyone knows what the traditional org chart looks like, right? They think the leader sits on the top of this org chart, right? And often enough, especially old school home services, I jokingly say that the old school service meeting, right? You come in Monday morning and it's some gruff looking guy standing in front of the meeting and it's this. You suck, you're cool, you suck. Go get me 5 stars. I need 5 stars. I need more revenue. I need happy customers. Right? Then you were the leader because you were the ones literally sitting in front of the meeting, right? You were the one talking, giving the demands or the commands or whatever. And scratch all that. That's not a leader. That's a dictator, and there's no room for that.
Right.
So the leader, I flipped that upside down as what I thought was a servant leader, and what I defined as a servant leader was a person that I pretty much worked for my entire team. I was the resource for my entire team. Did I have slightly more authority than everyone else? Absolutely. But I was there to be a resource. I was there to make sure that they not only had clear expectation of what I expected them to do, ultimate clarity of their job, full expectations of what needed to be done, and then my job was to hold them accountable.
Now, what happens with the accountability aspect of things? Because that's where people say they want to be held accountable, but then once you start to hold them accountable, then they're like, "Oh, you're just a jerk." Or
you're 100% correct. I think funny. A lot of people in the CEO Warrior world as they watch this, they're going to start chuckling right now because there is a term that I use almost every day, whether it's coaching, whether it's me on stage with that silly little microphone, but it's a little equation, and it's clarity plus alignment equals accountability. And in my world, you cannot have accountability if you don't have clarity and alignment. Like, it just doesn't exist. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. You can't get to 2 without 1 + 1. Now, there's a bunch of math people are going to say, yes, you can, and give me a whole bunch of argument about math. But let's just say that 1 + 1 = 2. You can't have accountability if there isn't clarity. The expectations aren't there. If someone doesn't know what's expected of them, how do you hold them accountable to it?
Sure.
If they don't have clear expectations or a why, and don't get me wrong, I still live in a time where I grew up in a world where there was no participation awards. I didn't get a ribbon because I showed up and
those
played.
are called the good old days, Kevin.
Yeah, right. I didn't get a second place ribbon because I showed up today. Right. That wasn't the world I grew up in.
Or you didn't get a tip because you went and did your job.
Exactly. So
I'm gonna trigger Tersh.
There's a whole bunch of people. That's probably a whole nother podcast, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have I didn't have to be explained why. When I grew up, if someone told me to do something, whether it was a boss, a leader, my dad, an elder in my families, whatever it was, right? They told me to do something, I just did it. Now there's a why, the next explanation, there's an alignment part.
Yes.
Why are we doing it? Everyone's on the same page. But here's the thing, if you have those two pieces, accountability becomes a little bit easier. And I think an upper level of leadership is when you get the person's buy-in, like leadership 201, 301, 401, right? College level is when you get to say, Tersh, doesn't that make sense? Or even better yet, Tersh, what do you think should be what do you think you can be held accountable on a daily basis? What do you think your level of expectation should be? When you're telling me what it is, then I get to hold you accountable to your own. It's my plan to begin with. I just get you to say it.
Sure.
Like that type of level of communication, unfortunately, does it take you a little bit more time? Yes. But without that, again, I don't believe you can have accountability. And when you don't have that is when you get a lot of that. I can't believe you're holding me accountable. You're a jerk. You're micromanaging me.
Yes, and that's kind of what I ran into. But it's I followed your steps actually with one individual, and take this with a grain of salt because that individual is a piece of shit to start with. But I literally
I can be real here. I didn't realize that. Okay, I didn't
I just want to make sure that everybody understands where we're coming from here. I gave them the option to let me know what they want, how they want to be held accountable, because I was at wit's end. I was like, we've got all of the guidelines. Everybody else follows these rules and process and procedures, and you just refuse to do it. So what will you do? And I'll hold you accountable to that. And they're like, oh, well, I think that you should do this. I think that we should be doing this. And I was like, okay, I can agree with that. Held them accountable to that. And then they want to blow up. Like they just didn't like being held accountable at all, no matter what.
Right. And some people aren't. And, you know, again, as leaders, we have a choice. We can create clarity or react to chaos. Like Here's the choice you have. Right. Sure. I personally I don't thrive in chaos. And there are some people thrive and live in chaos all day long. That's not me. Mm-hmm. It's too stressful for me. It makes me work too hard. Right. Yeah. I'd rather have ultimate clarity. And again, now you have someone who doesn't want to be held accountable. Well, then there's steps of improvement or steps of promoting them to the competition as well.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what Tersh did with this individual. That person was released to new opportunities. And I got to hear the whole story.
and you know, some people don't deserve the opportunity to be at your company.
Yes.
And that's
that could also come back, like, you know, at a certain point. And to be fair, like, you know, Tersh, him and I work on a lot of other things outside of this company. So like he was essentially hiring warm bodies too. Like he was getting warm bodies in that could run calls. And so some of that, and he knows, I'm sure if we, you know, held him to the fire, he would say, yeah, I could do better on the hiring process in the front end. But that's also an opportunity for anyone listening to this. If those are the people you have in your organization, you feel like what Tersh did, you need to, in my opinion, you need to go back to the front of the cycle, and figure out who you're hiring, because you're not hiring good people. You're hiring, and I've been there. The first HVAC company I worked at, anyone with a pulse that knew how to read a gauge was getting a job, because I needed techs. Sure.
Yeah,
and I had no idea what I was doing, and we did. These guys would come in, and I said, one guy, I remember, because we still had paperwork at this time, it was 2013, 2014. He'd come in and hand his paperwork in, and the dude smelled like a freaking chimney of smoke. Like literally his paperwork, he'd leave it on my desk and it would just stink up the office. It was so bad. He was just like a chain smoker. But like people like that, we were letting people's house, they were having conversations with 3 to 5 feet apart from someone. And imagine what the homeowner's thinking, because we have this type of person in the home and we're letting them in their home saying, yeah, they're great techs, they're great people, they're going to take care of you, they're not going to steal anything.
Yeah. And they're a lot of businesses run that air quality as well, by the way.
Yeah.
While they smell of
smoke. He should have been our best salesman for indoor air quality.
You would think, right?
Yeah. But that's the thing, because we've had some of that stuff when I came over to the marketing side. Was we had some people come in, and then within like 4 to 6 months, the alignment and stuff wasn't there. After we got them, we tried to get them on the same page, and they were kind of lazy and weren't doing the things they were supposed to. So we put some systems in place, but then we realized like the hiring cycle needed to be better. and it needed to be more thorough. And we needed to really have people almost disqualify themselves through an applicant tracking system where it's like, here's the first step. If you don't do that, we're not even going to look at your stuff.
Yeah.
Then once you do that, then we're going to review it. Then we're going to do a video interview. Like we're not going to waste a lot of time on people who are just literally going out there and throwing 20 job applications out there so they can collect unemployment.
Right. Right. Well, and we're the three subjects we're talking about, right? We're talking about leadership. We're talking about culture. We're talking about recruiting. Well, they're all intertwined in a company.
Sure.
Absolutely.
100%.
They're not three independent. They're super interdependent of one another. And they're intertwined. If you don't have a good culture, I don't care how good your recruiting is, those people will either not come, or when they do show up, they won't stay.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have good leaders, how many times have you heard people don't leave bad companies? They leave bad leaders.
Yes.
And they leave bad managers, right? So you have to have good leaders that create a good culture that now creates an environment where people want to go work, right? Because everything, you can write a review, you can write a job posting, Tersh can write a job post, and I can write a job posting. How many different ways can you write a job posting?
Oh, right. For
it's
sure.
The same net, right? It might have different holes. It might look a little different. It might sound a little different. It's still a net that you cast out into the ocean and tried to bring people back in. It's going to catch the same type of fish. It's going to catch the same type of people. The same person is probably going to send their resume to all three of us. It's what happens after that, which is the most important. What does that look like, sound like, and feel like when they do send the resume? And that's where the win happens. Once you get them to say yes, what happens as soon as they say yes to you?
What's your recommendation? Like it can be exhausting. Like we use Who Hire for our applicant tracking system, which is amazing because it automates most of those processes that I believe are extremely time consuming. I believe Josh feels the same way. So like, in your opinion, what is the proper thing to do to make sure that they get the experience that they should get?
So I treated and would still do the same if I had an HVAC, plumbing, or electrical company right now. I would treat them like a Yelp lead, right? Like speed to delivery would be my first thing, and
you
not
like ignore them and hope they go away.
No, no, that's a typical Yelp lead, in my opinion. No, I mean, no one from Yelp is watching this. No, what I mean is, like, if you really want to go down that route and catch that as a lead, then you have to be the first one. If not the first, you're the 10th. You just know that.
Yeah.
And so if you want to be the first, but it also, I love the automated part, but it's obviously automated.
Sure.
Right. So I had a dedicated person that, yes, they got the automated message. Yes, they got everything. Then we use a little bit of AI, which is a phenomenal tool to communicate with that person. But then as quickly as possible, as humanly possible, person got on the phone and did what we used to call the sniff test. It was that initial conversation to make sure that person fit the bill for us. And that initial reaction, or interaction rather, was what separated us, because even a lot of people relied simply on the technology and assumed that was going to take all the weight off of the weeding through or getting through the weeds. And some really good people just didn't want to wait. And they went to interview with the first person that actually picked up the phone and spoke to them and gave them a little bit of an interaction.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, especially in smaller markets like Charleston or Savannah. There's no waiting a week.
No.
Like it's something that's a speed to lead, like you mentioned.
Right. And, there's certainly vendors out there that can, hire buses and stuff like that will literally go out and find these people for you. And there's a absolute value to those folks as well. But at the end of the day, being the first to speak to them and make them feel important and invite them into your office is, in my opinion, the one that's going to win.
How do you recruit someone? Because typically, like especially during the busy season, like if it's during the middle of summer in Southeast Georgia, and I have people applying for jobs, like freely, like willy nilly applying for jobs, that's usually a red flag, in my opinion, because the good ones are already working somewhere. They're doing good stuff. Like if a company closes down, that's one thing. If they quit because of frustrations within the company, I understand that. But a lot of times they're kind of a diva if that's the case. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that everybody's like that. I'm just saying that there's usually a red flag if it's during a busy season and you don't have a job. So how do you actually go after the people that we want to have?
How do you find the unicorns everybody wants?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a great question because I'm with you 100%. If there's an unemployed, really good person in July in the Southeast, where we were in similar markets,
my
red flag's flying, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, what's going on here? So yeah, those I put on those. This is going to sound a little egotistical, but I handled those myself. Like I did everything for those. I didn't have, my CSR do the sniff test. I handled those myself because there was something wrong there. Potentially not, but for me, more often than not, there was something wrong.
Yeah.
And I brought them in and I talked to them, but every once in a while, you just found someone that really just hit someone that they got hit that one day.
Yeah.
They got asked to go up in a 140-degree attic for the last time. They didn't want to, right? Yeah. Change a coil in the middle of the summer in the Southeast at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We just didn't do that.
No.
Right. But they got asked one too many times and they decided that's it. I'm done. I know I can go find another job.
Sure.
So you got those guys. And I was willing to put the time into those folks. My team had a really good referral. We had a really good referral program where we paid our current team members really good money to go find people. Okay. We would pay for critical hires like really good service experts, technicians, plumbers, HVAC, electricians. If I needed them, I would pay top dollar. Why?
And what does top dollar look like to you?
I mean, if I needed to pay $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, I would do it. Okay. And why would I do it? Because my time, and other people in the company, I was paying that regardless. I was just paying it in labor by the hour.
What's your thoughts on like having a referral payment to the employee who brings on someone, like a recurring referral? Like I think at one time we were doing like $50 or $100 per week that the employee that they recommended that they helped bring on, as long as they stayed on.
Yeah,
which helped do it as well.
Yeah, we would. I think we did it. If I remember correctly, we did it quarterly.
Oh, quarterly. Okay.
Yeah, we just did it quarterly, and they had us. And if they left, then it just stopped.
Yeah, right.
Is that for like the first year quarterly?
Yeah. That we would do it for a year.
So it's like a cap of like the 1 year after 1 year. It's.
Yep. Yeah, and I figured, what? Let's say I did do the 5,000. Let's just say 5,000, right? So $1,250 a quarter, and maybe even I front loaded a little bit. Maybe I did like $3,000 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Well, if I used a recruiter to go do that, and that's what I used to do, I mean, I was charging 20%.
Expensive. They take like 20% of the salary and stuff like that. It's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, that I figured it was money well spent.
Sure.
And everyone was happy. And, then we always had recruiter cards. They looked like business cards, but they were the little recruiter cards that we put in the windshields at the supply houses, gas station, pizza place, wherever we saw another vehicle, my guys were putting business cards or recruiter cards in. Recruiting are always growing. We never really said always hiring, because in our world that always meant we were always firing. Yeah. So, always growing was a terminology we used. Always, adding to our phenomenal team or something, making it seem like we were always, growing our team. We used "Here We Grow Again" quite often. That's not the most profound thing in the world, but we use that often. that was even in a lot of our leave behinds. That at one point when we really needed people, that was literally on our invoices. Right. We just want
You
to
leave that behind for like customers and stuff too, just in case there's anyone you run across that's
and we would hire outside of the area as well. Again, we were in Charleston, South Carolina. I would look into the New York, New Jersey area in the middle of the winter and post pictures of palm trees and dolphins. While, especially if I knew they got a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Right. I'd post a picture of like one of my guys in a shirt watching the Giants game with palm trees and dolphins and behind them. And like, I don't even have to say anything. Just, hey, you want to come work for me?
When you do stuff like that, did you ever pay like pay for their moving expenses?
Yeah, we did. It was a special case.
Yeah.
And I needed some backup that says they were good, right? That's a few extra reference checks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we moved a few people out of the Northeast, a few people from Tennessee. I don't know that any of them still work at my previous company, but I know many of them still work in Charleston.
Gotcha.
Right. And they were phenomenal employees.
Yeah. That's cool. That's a different way of like I've seen people yes and no that and feel very opinionated.
Yeah.
They've been burnt by people.
Yeah.
In that situation. So.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I've been burnt by the paying out the referral fee. I've been burnt by the moving. I would do it again tomorrow if I could.
Okay.
No, and it's not going to go perfect every time. Just like, I just said to someone in an advisory call today, like owning a business is a contact sport.
Yeah.
It's, this is not easy what we do.
For sure.
So, you're going to walk away with bruises, and that's okay. Just,
absolutely.
So we talked about hiring unicorns, right? Because that's that's what everyone wants in quotations. Because everyone thinks they want that until they get someone on board that's a kind of a diva and kind of demands all these different things that aren't the typical course of action for a company. But what about, especially bringing in new techs? Because we all know that there is a tech shortage in the industry. Where at that point in time, because a lot of people in the trades, older people that have been in trades a long time have since retired, especially since COVID. They've sold, they've retired. So even more people are out of the workforce, especially the experienced ones. Mm-hmm. And we're struggling getting qualified people in these various trade companies. So what kind of approach would you recommend or have you done personally to help get great people that had at least some of the mechanical skills, but just didn't know how to read a schematic and do, install and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did two things. One, we encouraged one of our employees to go be an instructor at one of the trade schools.
Okay. That worked out pretty well.
It worked out phenomenal. Every good person that he saw, he would just give them the detour signs right to CNC Myers.
Yeah, don't apply anywhere else. Come right and work for us. Okay.
So, and then anytime there was the opportunity for me or one of the our senior service experts to go speak at the school or show up at a fair or whatever it was, we were there, man. We supported them well, and that worked out really well. We also started an apprentice program for the state of South Carolina.
Oh.
So starting the apprenticeship program was, don't get me wrong, giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Lots of paperwork. But there are incentives that go into that. There are tax incentives, there are payroll incentives that go into having an apprenticeship program. The biggest challenge with the apprenticeship program is the ability to get the people who start the apprenticeship to actually graduate the apprenticeship, like actually show up every day and still follow, because you want them to follow the same rules, similar to what we started before. Like, you have to follow the same rules as everyone else. Just because you're an apprentice doesn't mean you get to not show up for 3 days in a row and not call and just not call the show. Yeah. Right? You have to follow the same rules. So, a lot of those people weed themselves out very quickly. And
that's also how you find the people that actually are interested in that type of work. Yeah. It's kind of like a filtering process for hiring, a little different way of going about it. But that filtering process, alleviates a lot of those headaches later on after they're running their own jobs. And because then the type of people that get to that point are ones that want to do this. They see a career, they see the potential of the trades. And, they've also had a chance to work on the equipment and realize this is not me.
Yeah, I would say 2 places that were most successful for the apprenticeship program were, and this is going to sound weird, the probation office, the local probation office. And again, that is has to be a personal decision that the business owner makes, right?
Yeah.
That is someone that has to be willing to look at that and say, yep, I'm in, I'm all in. Because you have to be all in on that.
What do you mean? Like
Meaning you have to be all in with the mindset that you are going to because there's going to be people in your business that are going to ask you questions about why did you let this person into the business?
You're saying hire people who
just came out of prison,
gotten out of prison.
Yep. I was one of those that said I was a believer that anyone deserves a second chance.
Sure.
That was me. That was my personal opinion.
And you run into issues. So with that being said, did you run into issues with insurance or like homeowners, like divulging that information? Like, hey, so-and-so is a convicted felon or blah, blah, blah.
Not the apprenticeship program.
Okay.
We didn't have to worry about it in the apprenticeship program.
But if they were hired after the fact?
If they were hired after the fact, then we had, yes. There were certain steps you had to take with your insurance program.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
But you'd have to look at your certain state and see where.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like in the commercial world, if you do like commercial, like there's less issue there.
Sure.
And like in residential, where they're going in somebody's bedroom to the airflow.
And every company typically has some level of ownership over that, where if every company said if someone had a DWI in their background, they're not going to hire them, there'd probably a lot less people employed in the world. But you get to that point where you say, here's the line. People who broke the law above the line aren't allowed in our company. Below the line, we'll look at it, right? And that's the way that we handled it.
Yeah.
And then military, people coming out of the military.
Yeah.
Sure.
We spent a lot of time recruiting out of the military.
There's actually a lot of programs in the military where they will pay the salary of the technician as they're learning to become a technician. We went through that.
I didn't know that. That's
cool.
Yeah.
And some of them, like, it changes up. But whenever we last did it, they paid his salary for 6 months.
Yeah.
How do you get involved or get information on a program like that? Because I'm sure, especially around that the eastern seaboard there, and some of the there's a lot of bases that are stationed around the area within 60 to 90 miles.
I'd have to find it. It was a DoD website that I came across one time, and basically they just have to get their commander to sign off on some paperwork, and as long as their commander is okay with it, I mean, and usually, especially if there's a surplus budget, they're okay with it. They're fine with it. Every now and then you'll run into a commander that's like, nah, you're gone. Like, you're dead to me.
The state of South Carolina had a liaison that would put all these lines together for us. Yeah. They were really pushing the apprenticeship program so that they didn't have to run it. We ran the program, so they would do all the legwork behind, just so that they didn't have to actually run the program. So it worked out for both of us.
So we talked about a lot of different ways to find people, because I think these ideas are great. Like, there's stuff I've learned that I had no idea existed. But now that we let's say we find some people, or we get some traction, we always have people coming in and applying. What does it look like after they join the company to really get them part of the culture, get them trained to the level that we need them at? Because I know training, there's the big shops that have like the really nice, everyone thinks they got to have like this fantastic looking setup for training, and like a whole training room and a big warehouse and all this stuff, which is not the case.
Right.
But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and how, you guys are teaching and coaching contractors to set up their training system.
Well, I'm going to take a step back from what you just said, because I think that training Before training starts, onboarding starts. So I think there has to be a plan of onboarding. I find it so interesting when we talk to our clients and we talk to our members and they get so excited that Billy's starting on Monday or Janie's starting on Monday. And I say, okay, great. What does their onboarding plan look like? And
here's the keys.
Here's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Here's a van.
Well, I got them this notepad and this pen here. So is that good? Like, no. Like, what makes them feel like they're part of the team like today? Like, I want them feeling like they are part of the family when they walk in the door. So I'll give you an example. Like at our company, when they walked in the door, they got, and this is, you guys may or not remember this. I'm not claiming it. CEO Warrior can claim this, but Kevin Hill cannot claim this. The first dollar letter.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I wrote a bunch of those out.
And think about this
With the frame and the frame first dollar.
You remember it, man.
Oh yeah, we have lots of those.
And what does it cost you? $1.
Well, $27 for the frame.
Well, okay, there you go. $28. Okay, let's get
What kind of frame are you buying, man?
There's specific ones with $1 bill, like they're in the shape of a dollar bill. They're matted for it.
You know they sell frames at the dollar store, right, man?
No,
I know you're bougie,
quality.
but $27 frame for a
these were quality frames, and I could write a handwritten note on.
They're
the
on
back
par
of
with
it.
your shoes, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. I want a frame that's going to last a long time, not something that's going to fall apart.
True.
But you know, the concept is you make this person feel like they are so important and such an important part of the family from day one. And think about some of the jobs that you started where you walked in and like the person who met you asked you a question like, who are you?
Yeah. What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? And like all that wind you had in your sails walking through was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the first thing, man? Did I make the right decision? You're already questioning yourself day one, whether or not you joined the right company. And so I think a really good onboarding plan, and this is up for debate and arguing, an onboarding plan for us could go 90 days.
Okay.
And when I say that to some of our members or people that I'm talking to at conferences, whatever, their eyes get this big. They're like, wait, that person's not going to make me money for 90 days? I'm going to have them on payroll for 90 days? Well, you can throw them out day one, but then by day 30, they might be losing you money.
Sure.
Which is worse.
Yep.
So, so a really good onboarding plan where you do the whole total immersion. They see what everyone does within the organization. They get a feel for what everyone does in the organization. They sit with each person. I had a plumber sit with my accounts receivable person for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Half hour, whatever. Wasn't all day.
It's still probably pretty eye-opening though, because we all think that, man, these plumbers, these HVAC, all they do is make money. That's how they feel.
Yeah.
They don't see who's actually doing the work behind the scenes to make sure that the business runs.
Well, you know what I never heard from my field? Our prices are so high because we have too many people in the office.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Why? Because they walked around and said, oh, wait a second. With this lady right here, she's really important. She collects all our bills. This lady over here, she pays my check. I'm never going to give her a hard time. Right? She's the one who signs the checks, make sure that we get paid. Right? And everyone had that. And sitting in that office for a full day, they saw that it was I won't say well-oiled machine. We certainly had our clunks, but it was a pretty good engine.
Yeah. And
they saw that. And so they didn't question a lot of things in the office. But that day, everyone has the BS first day HR paperwork. And anyone who's in HR is listening to this, sorry. Yeah. But it's a BS day. No one wants to do that day. Mm-mm. Right? They want to learn, when am I going to get paid? How much is it going to be? And do I get benefits? That's it. No one really wants to know about the book. They don't read the book. They just sign the back page.
That's why Church, he put his handbook into a Slack channel with a custom GPT. So anytime they have questions, I actually need him to do this for me because I've had team members, do we have Memorial Day off? I'm like, are you serious? Yes, you got Memorial Day off. It's like,
national holiday.
Wait.
No, but if they could have asked the channel, that would have been great because then it would be really easy for them to just ask, get their answer, and move on.
Yeah, someone just asked me that today about CEO Warrior. Like one of the
what are you guys closed?
Hey, are we off on Monday? Yes.
Yes, we're off.
I mean, you guys are off. I'm not sure if us as coaches are ever off because of our clients' work. We have to be available, but whatever. I can always answer. Yeah, I can be flipping burgers and still answer my phone. I'm perfectly fine with that. I think so. Having a really good onboarding plan is the absolute start. Now, to officially answer your question, you're absolutely right. A training program doesn't need a full-on boiler and a full-on, tankless water heater so that they can do it. But you should have that person. We did day 1 in the office, day 2, and I tried my best to have people start, especially field, start on a Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was with a different person in the field, a senior person in the field. I don't care how senior that person was at starting. They went out in the field, and I had one question when they came back from my current employee, not the new person, but my current employee. Would you hire that person today? Because here's the other thing. I wanted buy-in from my senior guys.
They have to work with it.
Then they'll help train them. They'll pick up the phone when they need them at 5 o'clock on a Friday night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what am I doing? I'm creating a culture of acceptance for that guy that just started. So now they're putting their arm around him. They're making him feel comfortable, or her, right? And then what do we see? Now they're getting accepted. Mm-hmm. Now the technical training, we did technical training once a week anyway. Mm. And that was just on a regular basis. Once a week, we did technical training. Now, don't get me wrong. That technical training was not done by me. I was not in the field.
How did you guys set up a curriculum for that? Because I feel like that's where people struggle, because one, like, we don't want to keep tripping over ourselves and talk about the same thing over and over again. We want to continue to learn and grow on that. Was there something that you used for that?
Yeah, we typically did. We just kind of followed a routine of, if we needed to do something that came up in the field quite a bit, like, right, if it was kept coming up. But I made a mistake with that. I'll be perfectly honest. I would knee-jerk react to that. Holy cow, we just learned about this XYZ high-end Lennox thermostat, and we might have 2 in the field. And we would do a whole training, an hour's worth of training over that represented 0.0001% of my business.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
I'm guilty of that too.
If I could say anything, if someone just takes that one little thing out of this conversation, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. But, so how we came about curriculum usually came from my senior guys, what they're seeing in the field and what is trending. And I also leaned on my territory managers. Okay. My Lennox reps, my Bryant reps, my train reps, what are you guys seeing? What's coming down? And then, we used I'm drawing a blank on the name. He's going to kill me when I say it. Brett was his name. Indoor air quality products.
Dynamic
Air. Thank you so much. God, sorry, Brett. So Dynamic Air, and he would come in on a regular basis, and he's
so quick to come and train too.
Dude, he's awesome.
Oh, he's like sitting there waiting for your call, be like, "Oh, I'll be right there."
Brett, if you ever get Brett Larson to be able to come on and do any training, that man is fantastic. We used to call him Shamwell Brett, and I don't know if he knows that, but if he now he will. But yeah, no, he was awesome, man. And he knows his product left and right. But yeah, and so that we would do that, and then we would get some of the folks from like HD Pro would come in and they would teach about a product. And we did try and change it up. The one thing, we would teach a service, technical, product, and we try and work that around, because if you just came in and taught technical, yeah, even the most technical guy is sitting in the corner sleeping.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on, so I haven't done this in a while, but I used to do it quite often, and that is having a technician teach about a component and how to diagnose the component.
Yeah, 100%. When it was the technical training,
yeah,
I don't do it well, but I would sit in the background and keep quiet. I'm not good at it. I'll be perfectly honest, but yeah, I would do my best to sit in the background and keep quiet and just facilitate questions and keep the conversation flowing.
I think that's great for the camaraderie and getting them all to interact. Like we did something similar at professional, and it was really great because then the guys that had seniority, a lot of experience, are helping the younger guys, or the technicians without a lot of experience, and then they feel comfortable asking them questions because they're actually all talking. We all know guys are not necessarily considered the best communicators, so forcing them to be in a situation where they have to talk and they have to ask questions and they have to interact that way, I think just kind of opens those. It kind of breaks down some barriers where it's like, oh, I just call them because we just talked on that 2 weeks ago.
Well,
and
not only that, it's I don't want to stand up in front of a classroom of my peers and look like a complete idiot. So therefore,
you will practice, train, learn, ask questions,
research it,
Yep.
and one of the things was like if we had someone get a call back on the same item twice, then we're like, all right, you're teaching the class next week or the week after or something on that product.
And it's funny. So you take the potential negative and turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
Right. I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Tersh.
Pat my back.
One good idea today.
Yeah.
You can clock out now. You're done.
I'm done.
All right, when I do my next Road Warrior training, I'm stealing that. There you go. Thanks.
Well, we are coming up on the end of our time together, though. Is there anything that you'd like to share that we haven't talked about?
No, I think I really appreciate you guys having me on.
It's our pleasure.
I love your guys' podcast. I really do. I appreciate, we were talking a little bit in the beginning. Your guys' journey is awesome. I love hearing about it. It's fantastic. It's hard to believe where, looking at where you guys started. I love that your journey started here at CEO Warrior. I love that's an awesome part of your story.
I wish I would have met someone else.
Whatever.
Yeah, listen, I can't help that part, Josh. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm too far gone. I'm stuck with this guy. So
yes, we got how many businesses together now? So you're stuck with me.
Way too many.
No, but
at this
I
point,
really
we should be
appreciate
next door neighbors.
You guys having me on today. This is a blast, man. I had a great conversation. I love it.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. If anybody has any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to Kevin and his team. If you have any questions for Josh and I, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're more than happy to help out and guide you. If you have any questions about AI or automation in the trades, we're happy to help. With that being said, I hope you have a wonderful and safe week until we talk again next time. Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
See ya.